It's just fantastic. Captain's log, subdate 200930.1. With the ship now fully clean, I have tasked my maintenance crew, so Skyraw Draws subscribe to her, with finally getting the holodeck online. I have a content constable to make, and would like my old rooms back. Welcome everyone to the Exhibition of Stupid People. Today we have 4 subjects. Yes, I've reduced this greatly as I thought perhaps spending a little more time on individual subjects could help to go through. Before that, there is a new video on Moistski Live and I'm streaming on Twitch tonight. Some murder fun time. Both linked in the description down below. To start, we're going to go with Doctor Who. Now, over the years of its existence, the fandom, some has gotten quite toxic. But there are areas of it where it is somewhat almost universally accepted. As with every individual person with all the doctors we've had, everyone has a differing view on who their favourite is and who the best is. I grew up with Sylvester McCoy, arguably a fantastic actor handed one of the worst storylines and budgets known to exist. Then Paul McGann came along and I was like, well, he got done dirty, didn't he? It is universally accepted the 2 best doctors are Tom Baker and David Tennant, whose first is usually Tom Baker because of seniority, but also his stories were just fantastic, exciting, and he was too. Insert the Radio Times, who have done a poll of the best Time Lord, with David Tennant coming first. The current Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, with 95 votes less than David Tennant. Peter Capaldi, who was done dirty as well, 3rd. Matt Smith, 4th. 5th. Tom Baker, with 3,977 votes, which is over 6,000 votes less than that of David Tennant. This is how I know the voting in question with the pool they had done was done solely and targeted towards the more casual fan instead of the hardcore fan, because I don't see Peter Davison high either, and he was also a very good doctor. And you know how I know this was a really bad poll? Colin Baker wasn't last. No, Peter Davison was, who, by the way, is my favourite Doctor. There are a lot of newer fans to the show of Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. However, many also argue, arguably more in fact, that she is one of the worst Doctors because she has also been done dirty like Capaldi. Story focusing on more trivial aspects instead of something more sci-fi. And by trivial I mean, seriously, have you watched the first series? Over the course of the second one, it showed some improvement, second series to feature Jodie Whittaker, that is. But in truth, it was still the same old, and it was really badly executed. And this rather comical poll done by the Radio Times proves that those that voted only voted on what they currently know and show the generational gaps. There are 3. The first features William Hartnell, because he was the first Doctor. The second generation goes from Troughton all the way up to McGann, and the current generation goes from Eccleston to the current Dr. Whittaker. Sadly, many of the younger voters haven't watched the older stuff, and if they have watched it, they won't appreciate it. This poll will trigger so many Whovians, and you know it. Next we go to an article by Inside Hook, written by Kaylee Kibbe, Kibbe. The hottest thing a man can do is not be a jerk about astrology. Astrology, for those who don't know, is that nonsense that centers around people's attitudes, behaviors, and star signs. How they correlate. Blah, blah, blah. I, because of that, am deemed a typical Capricorn. I don't care. Star sign nonsense is exactly that. Nonsense. And people that believe it, oh boy, you're up there with those who do tarot card readings and think it means something. You've shuffled a deck and are thinking on the spot. There's nothing clever about it. Straight men, the internet has a question for you. Why do you hate astrology so much? Because it's bollocks. Hannah Ewers was among the first to pose the query in a 2018 Vice article, followed by Leah Thomas writing for Cosmopolitan the next year. The answers they found based on interviews with real red-blooded astrology-hating straight men are more or less what you might expect, because they're probably ones you yourself have given. It's not real, which is true. It's girl stuff, no, it's just nonsense. Or as one particularly charming 20-something told viewers, if you try to bring up that shit with me, I'll think you're a mindless bimbo. In other words, this is my favourite part by the way, men feel entitled to belittle and denigrate astrology, because it's a woman thing of course, for the same reason they feel entitled to belittle and denigrate anything else society has coded as feminine or otherwise related to women, because the very thread that holds a patriarchal society together is the fundamental, if now largely unspoken, belief that womanhood itself is inherently bad. I promise you this, it's not the men doing that. It really isn't. But I would say for the sake of it, astrology is nonsense. You are placing your faith in stars. Do you even know what a star is? I don't think you do, but I can equate it to something else. When people look at the clouds and see pictures in the clouds, or when they see Jesus in toast, it's that same nonsense, but done through a different lens, and there's nothing feminine about it. It's just nonsense, or to give it its correct name, absolute bollocks. I saw that article courtesy of Chairview within the B-List DM Twitter group. Thank you Chairview, link to Chairview's channel in the description down below. Next we go to Durham University, where the student union leader, Naila, has been a bit spicy. Her Twitter profile is quite something special. She was elected earlier this year as the undergraduate academic officer, and she declared herself a misandrist till the day she dies. A self-professed man-hater in a position of power, no less. She's also called for pronoun badges for staff and undergraduates. Hello, my name is, and my pronouns are, minus swish and swoop. Lightsaber sounds, for those who don't know. Yes. I never understood why a lot of women go out of their way to openly hate men, which is a really strange position to have, since most of those that say this end up with men. It's a really peculiar thing. Now granted, Naila hasn't used her Twitter in a while, but the profile is still there. Back in July, Naila presented a manifesto to Durham bosses on how to decolonize the university, with her suggestion being to sell off a Picasso to fund the people of colour who have been asking for you to do it for years. Understandably, Naila hasn't responded to any questions when it comes to this. Student unions for the most part at universities are, while claiming to be democratic, the absolute antithesis of democracy, and are gripped with a toxic culture of feelings over action, fact. This was something noticed by my closest friend who worked within the union for years, as it slowly degraded into, but my feelings are hurt. We must ban this, it must be super politically correct, because last week one of the weekly free editions of their newspaper, called the Palatinate, was pulled. Many believe this is because of the COVID-19 nonsense, but others believe the decision was politically motivated because there were going to be bits written in about it on Sir Harold Evans, who had passed away last week. Needless to say, the student unions are trash, and they've proven themselves to be that. You have a number of man-haters in positions of power across the country, and apparently you're elected. Right. I'd like to see the voter turnout, because chances are it's less than 1%. It's always less than 1%. You represent the whole university, and the only people you could get to vote for you are those that also hate men. I'm going to guess a number of societies tell me when to stop. I'm kidding, I'm not doing that. I want to get monetized. And I'd like to not lose subs. The final subject, which isn't a main event but it's one that amused me, comes from CNN, and it features a man called Sylvain Herlin. He was teaching children from the age of 6 up, but something changed and he lost his job, and he has to live with the consequences. See, what Sylvain had done was that he'd gotten some tattoo work done. Now this tattoo work, it can be argued to be quite beautiful. Sure, but he had it done on every inch of his body, including his eyes, which meant he looked like a freaking demon. This is Sylvain, by the way. He's had to concede that he can't teach at a French kindergarten after parents complained that he scared children, which he did, and after spending 460 hours under the tattooist's needles, the school authorities told him he no longer would teach children. Yes, I can't imagine why. Now, of course, I always take the stance of that is a petty way to get rid of somebody, but children are very easily frightened, and as assuring as you can be, that initial shock is going to scar them. One must look friendly. Please tell me what part of this looks friendly unless you're going to a school for goths. With everything we cover on this channel, I'd love to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, if you liked what you saw today, please consider hitting the like. Please consider commenting, sharing, and if you are not already, please consider subscribing to this channel. So I hope you all have a fantastic Thursday, and thank you all for listening.